Welcome back. We're on chapter 6 of The Richest Man in Babylon, the gold lender of Babylon. We're going to have a little bit more of an in-depth discussion. Hopefully you're coming here after having just watched the summary of the chapter. So basically the core principle of this chapter is using our money to help out the people we care about. Not a bad thing to want to do, right? We have money, we want to use it to help other people. That's a good thing. We've talked about the necessity of being charitable with our money. The difference is, are we putting the burdens, the financial burdens of those people upon ourselves? Kind of the heart of the chapter for me was the allegory of the ox and the ass. So the allegory goes that there's an ox and an ass who can talk to each other and a farmer that can listen and understand what they're saying. And so the farmer covertly listens, and the ox is just complaining about how hard it is to be an ox because he's got to pull the plow all day in the sun and it's just the worst job. And the ass, who's trying to be his friend, says, "Hey man, what if you just pretended like you're sick tomorrow? And then you get the day off." And the ox is like, "Brilliant!" And so the next day the ox tries that, and what happens is the ass winds up getting hitched to the plow, and he has to spend all day working. And then at the end of that day, the ox is like, "Man, that was such a great day. Thank you so much. Your advice was fantastic." But meanwhile, the ass is ticked off because he spent all day doing the ox's job. "And I," retorted the ass, "am like many other simple-hearted ones who starts to help a friend and ends up doing his task for him. Hereafter you draw your own plow. For I did hear the master tell the slave to send for the butcher were you sick again. I wish you would, for you are a lazy fellow." Thereafter they spoke to each other no more. This had ended their friendship. The allegory here is so rich with symbolism in our day and our lives, right? Chances are you've had an experience where the lending or borrowing of money between family and friends has strained, if not ruined, that relationship. And if you haven't had that experience, you probably know somebody who has. It happens all the time. You don't bring money into close personal relationships, at least not the borrowing and lending of money. To be clear, Mathan, the moneylender, does not tell Rodan, "Do not help out your sister. She can figure it out on her own. She and her husband can do their own thing." No, he says, you can help them, but find ways to help them that doesn't put their burden on your shoulders. Because Rodan just got this 50 gold piece bonus from the king for his great spearhead design, right? Which, by the way, is a testament to the power of good work, hard work, extra work, so forth and so on, right? So now he's got this extra gold, but if he wants to help out his sister and her husband, find other ways to do it. I've heard advice said, if somebody is asking to borrow money from you for whatever reason, do not ever lend them money. You can give them money, but don't lend it. And that would be my advice as well. Give them some money, sure, but don't lend it. If you desire to help your friend, do so in a way that will not bring thy friend's burdens upon thyself. I think there's a lot of wisdom in this counsel that Mathan gives Rodan here, where he says, life is hard, and there will always be some who cannot adjust themselves to it. You are not going to fix the struggles of life for whoever is asking for your financial help. Life is always going to be hard. There's nothing you can do to stop that. You can assist them for sure. And again, I just want to make it so clear here that neither this book or I are telling you don't help out your loved ones. Please do help out your loved ones, but do not take upon yourself their financial burdens. One example of doing this would be co-signing. Co-signing is the act of taking somebody else's financial burden upon yourself. Don't do it. Don't ever co-sign for somebody. There's no reason to do it. It is literally the ox and the ass situation, taking their financial burden on your shoulders. Another thing that Mathan tells Rodan here, that humans in the throes of great emotions are not safe risks for the gold lender. Chances are if somebody's coming to you asking for money, it's because they've got some great idea or they're in some great peril, or what they perceive to be some great peril. At the end of the day, people who have a lot of kind of fight or flight emotional response happening, they don't make good decisions. Kind of as a general rule, if there's a lot of emotion involved, there should be no lending or borrowing of money. Mathan goes on to talk to Rodan about some of his experiences because again, Mathan is a moneylender. That's his job. And so he's telling Rodan some of his experiences. And one of the things he tells Rodan is he knows some people that insist on repaying their debts promptly. And Rodan's a little surprised by this. He says, some borrowers do that? Mathan says, if they borrow for the purposes that bring money back to them, I find it so. But if they borrow because of their indiscretions, I warn thee to be cautious if thou wouldst ever have thy gold back in hand again. In other words, why are we borrowing the money? This is a lesson for all of us, whether we are borrowing or lending. What is the purpose? If you are a loving, tender parent trying as hard as you can to help out your child, and your child is asking you to co-sign on a loan for a vehicle, is this an indiscretion? Chances are yes, because the car is not going to bring money back to them. The car always loses value. A car essentially never appreciates. It only ever loses value. So by you helping your son or daughter get into a vehicle, it's a discretionary purchase. Another thing that Mathan mentions here to Rodan, kind of going back onto the idea of parent and child kind of relationship, she had pictured to herself this son of hers as a wealthy and powerful man of Babylon. To suggest the contrary was to infuriate her. A lot of parents, and we need to stop and analyze ourselves, a lot of parents are so desperate to see their children for who they wish they were that they start to believe the lie of who they are instead of seeing the reality of who they are. In other words, my child can do no wrong. You all probably know somebody who, is like, my child's perfect. My child would never do that, right? Those kinds of parents tend to be really frustrating. And unfortunately, it's these same types of parents who tend to get into that trap of, oh, well, yeah, I'll co-sign for my child because he's such a good boy. You don't do that. Never take upon yourself the financial burdens of others. Help them? Yes. Take their burdens? Never. Kind of on that same tune as far as young people entering into debt, I love what Mathan says here. Youth, never having had experience, cannot realize that hopeless debt is like a deep pit into which one may descend quickly and where one may struggle vainly for many days. It is a pit of sorrow and regrets where the brightness of the day is overcast and night is made unhappy by restless sleeping. Do we really want to be teaching our children and teaching our family and friends that when they don't have the money for something, they borrow it from their loved ones? Putting their loved ones' financial security on the line? I don't think that's the message we should be teaching our kids. I think the message that we should be teaching our kids, and is evidenced in this book, is that they need to be responsible for themselves. We can help them, we're going to support them as best we can without giving them a crutch. I absolutely love this quote here. "'Tis well to assist those that are in trouble. 'Tis well to help those upon whom fate has laid a heavy hand. 'Tis well to help those who are starting, that they may progress and become valuable citizens. But help must be given wisely, lest, like the farmer's ass, in our desire to help, we take upon ourselves the burden that belongs to another." Mathan makes it so clear here in this text that you are under no obligation to help out your family in this way, as far as lending money to them, giving money to them. You're under no obligation, none, zero. That is your money. You earned it. It's yours. They have no hold upon it. Do not let yourself be guilt-tripped into giving away your financial security to help others who would put their needs or wants above your own. If your family or friends truly wish the best for you, truly respect you, truly understand you, and want you to be well, they will understand and respect your decision. If you say no and you are met with anger, hostility, aggression, chances are they may not respect you. And that's a sign that it was good to not lend them that money, because if they don't respect you, they're not going to prioritize paying you back. Mathan also makes the point here in the text that you have to consider what the potential of this money is, the money that your family or friend is asking you to lend to them. Because this money isn't just that money. It's also the money that could gain interest, right? So let's say your family is asking you to lend them $5,000. Well, that's more. They're actually asking for more than $5,000 because that $5,000 could be in an investment account at 10% interest. So really, by lending them that $5,000, you're putting that $5,000 on the line plus everything that it would have earned through interest. So understanding that when you lend money, you're actually lending way more than what they're asking for needs to be included in your calculations as to whether you're willing to take those risks. Be not swayed by foolish sentiments of obligation to trust thy treasure to any person. If thou wouldst help thy family or thy friends, find other ways than risking the loss of thy treasure. And then at the end of this discourse between Mathan and Roden, Mathan makes the point, be discreet in how much money you have, because there are always people who want to take that money from you or ask you to give it to them or borrow it from you. There's always people who want your money, always. It's the world we live in. It's one of those things we all kind of know that it's kind of a rule. You don't ask somebody how much money they make. It's kind of rude, right? You don't ask how much money somebody has. It's kind of rude. Follow that same rule. Don't ask other people how much money they have. Don't offer up how much money you have. It's none of their business. Generally speaking, the more money you get, the more people will try to get that money from you, whether legally or through obligatory pressures. So basically the core message of this entire chapter is, no, you are under no obligation, none, not even to your closest family, to lend your money to them. My personal counsel to you is, if you want to help somebody, give them a little bit of money, support them in other ways, use your imagination, but do not take upon yourselves their financial burdens. That concludes our discussion of Chapter 6, The Gold Ender of Babylon. Hope to see you on Chapter 7, The Walls of Babylon. The